YouTube, 3D Life here, and I'm going to try to make this update relatively short on the Eclips3D. If you missed it, I did do a live stream of some design work, but those live streams are going to be exclusively live streams. I'm not going to post them afterwards, just because they're really long, drawn out, and boring, and I really doubt that anybody's going to want to watch them. But if you guys think differently, then I will do it differently in the future. I do plan on doing a few more live streams, maybe one or two of them, time permitting. I did find I got quite a bit done, especially since I was kind of forced to keep working on it since people were tuned in. And I had consistently like 10 people watching, which was pretty cool. So what I got done, a lot on the Z-axis. That was the main focus. It doesn't look hugely different, but there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that went in to make everything fit together right. And I did do some work since the live stream, in case you did watch the live stream, so there'll still be some new things. So first of all, these plates have changed once again. This was post-live stream. Anyway, how I have it now is I've got these plates on both sides. They kind of look like boats a little bit, the front of a boat, I don't know. They're not meant to, they just do. But, so as you can see, it mounts through this extrusion, through the end, that's going to be tapped. And then this one, it mounts on the side, excuse me, in two places here and here, to allow the most amount of torque on this bar. This cross piece coming across here bolts into the bottom, and it goes through these slots in this piece, which there is some gap there, you just can't really see it. For the front one, that just comes here. And for the front, I do plan on having a front crossbar with the name of the printer cut out, and then possibly having it backlit with LEDs and having frosted acrylic covering behind the letters, so it'll give it a nice even glow, and it'll just look really cool. That will just be purely for aesthetic purposes, but I think that would look pretty awesome, having the logo glowing on the front right here underneath the print bed. Maybe it's just me, but I don't know, I think that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna see about doing that. It should be pretty cheap to implement, only costs like an extra $2 per printer, maybe even less, probably less than $2. Sorry about that. So as I was saying, yeah, the little front name backlit, that would look really awesome. It'd probably only cost about $1 per printer, not $2. So yeah, there's that. Coming into the bed, I did put in a model for not only the PCB, but also the glasses in here now. Albeit it's not quite centered and in place, but it's in the model, which is a start. Let me pull this down, and you can see the bed leveling, which will be pretty cool. So what I have here is, first of all, this piece, it's basically just a little L-shaped bracket that's going to have a threaded hole so that you can screw into this and this won't spin, and it will adjust the height. This is going to be the spring, obviously, for the bed. A bit oversized, but there's really nothing wrong with that. If needed, I will print little plastic spacers to just kind of keep the spring centered, but I mean, I think even without them, it should be fine. It may have an issue on this corner, though, so I will definitely see about that, and if needed, those will be easy to print. Then the bottom, this has the knob, so what this means is that you can adjust this without any tools. You can just spin this little knob, and it will adjust the height. You will have this little screw sticking up, but that will be fine, because it's just a little screw poking up, and it's much better than using a tool. I think many of you will agree, so there is going to be that. For holding the glass in yet, I'm still not positive what I'm going to do. What I was thinking is getting some longer bolts here, and then having a little metal clip that would swing around, or I could just have some little metal clips made, or I really don't want to use alligator clips because that just really takes away from the look of the printer. But I'm definitely going to be looking into that, into some possible solutions. Yeah, so let me get this. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be aluminum, obviously, because this is a heated bed, so it's going to get hot, which means I can't just print out a plastic thing to do that. So it's going to have to be either made out of aluminum or something pre-made. So that does make things a little bit complicated when it comes to the heated bed. But I will figure something out, don't worry. And if you guys have suggestions or printers for reference that I can sort of build off of, I will gladly take them. Other things I've done, I've raised up this bottom to I think 30 millimeters or 35 from the bottom here to the ground, so it's 35 millimeters height, because the power supply is 50 millimeters big. So that guy's going to be plopped in the bottom underneath an acrylic panel, so everything will be built into this printer, which will be awesome. So unlike most printers where you have the power supply separate, that will just be built in here, and you'll just have the little plug in the back. You can plug your wall adapter in, plug that into the wall, and you're good to go. No external power supply. And what I was also considering, although I think I'm not going to do it anymore, is having two panels on here. So the top one would be just obviously flat top panel to cover up the entire base of this guy, and it would also be hiding the motor, these guys, and all the electronics underneath. And then I was considering doing a second one, mounting off the bottom of these same brackets, and that would have some cutouts for the electronics, just slots for them to go, and then you can bolt them in place. But I may consider doing something else for securing those electronics. I'm not too sure yet. I may just have brackets that are along the edge, but the power supply is fairly big, so I may need this second panel. And it shouldn't be too expensive. I mean, the panels that I'm looking at here are only like $4 each, if even, so it really shouldn't be that bad if I do have to put in two panels for the printer. Although I may be doing sorry, I'm rambling. I still may do a lower and a higher model printer. The lower model would just simply have the model with the cutouts for the power supply and the other board, and the higher model would have this top plate too, and then all the other enclosures and stuff. So that's it for the Z-axis and the bottom. Coming up to the top, I did do a little bit of behind the scenes tweaking on this guy. I printed some test parts, which I have yet to show you, and stuff like that. So that should be pretty much done here for the time being. I also did some work on the extruder, and right now I'm having issues with this little snap feature. I wanted to do a nice little snap. There we go. I wanted to do a nice little snap for this bearing just so it's easy to build and it will just stay together and stuff. But that's not working too well because this snap feature is so incredibly small. So I may just go back and have a bolt going straight through and then threading into this plastic back, something like that. Still keeping it simple, but just making it so it will be a bit stronger, more reliable, because I definitely don't want to sacrifice reliability. The spring, I haven't put it in yet, but it's going to be the same spring as the bed, hopefully, and it's just going to go plop in right here and give it some tension. It's not going to be an adjustable tension, because if you have a reliable enough extruder, you really don't need adjustable tension. Sure, you could argue that for harder, softer filaments you do, but if you have the right tension to begin with, it should be fine, really, regardless of filament. The bottom, I believe I did tweak a little. It's got this arm coming up now. This coming through here. I attempted to do a bit of the fan ducting in the live stream, but it just was not working. I also printed out this piece and these guys in real life, and it seems pretty solid, and I'm very confident that this rather unique belt crossing mechanism will work. And the main benefit of this whole thing, the reason that I'm going for the single plate belt, one, because it will look better, be a bit simpler, but really the main reason is because I will be keeping all of the force along the same horizontal plane. There's some that are offset where you have them stacked or just separate, but one's higher, and then when they're pushing on this gantry, one's going to be pulling from high, one's going to be pulling from low, and what can happen is it can actually cause it to torque in some strange directions. You don't want that. So in this design, I'm trying to keep all joints basically as minimal as possible. I'm keeping these ends of these rods as close to the bearings as possible. I'm making this as big as possible, and then keeping all the belts in the same plane, trying to get them as close to the rods as possible. They're a little far away as it is, but I don't think I can get very much closer how it is now, unfortunately, but I think it will still work just fine. But I mean, I'm really taking into account a lot of the physics behind the printer and not just how it looks and making it function, I guess. I'm really trying to make it so that it will be not only functional, but a really high quality, precise machine at higher speeds. And one final little treat for those of you who stuck around, I did order the Astig X5 mini board from I don't know how you say the name of the website, so I'm not gonna. But it's the only place that sells it. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. That's a 32-bit processor, runs SmoothieWare. It's tiny. It still has the upgraded DRV8825 stepper drivers, and it should be pretty freaking awesome. And I can't wait for that to get in. I'm super excited to hook that up to my 3UP just to do some testing with it. Hopefully I don't fry it. That would really suck. But yeah, so that's going to be awesome. And also the Masumi order, which has the majority of the parts I need to start actually building the prototype, should be coming in about 3 or 4 days. So time permitting, I'll be working on that. But 3UP kits still have priority over the Eclips3D. I should be getting out the rest of the first set of 3UP kits soon, and the second set hopefully not long after. I'm really just waiting on printed parts at this point. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to shut up. You guys can go enjoy the rest of your evening or day or whatever. Depends what time I post this. So I'll catch you all later. Adios, everybody.